out the enemy! That's it. That's more like it.
I don't care. If it's coffee, that's all I care about. People on the internet know how much I care about coffee now. Cold, stale coffee that I'm drinking just so they can see video games. But at least they're awesome video games, like War of the Roses. We are back, folks. Welcome back to GDC 2013 here at EvolveHQ.com's live stream of amazingness and awesomeness. And continuing our streak of amazing awesomeness, I am now here with my buddy Gordon. And Gordon, you are one of the guys behind War of the Roses, one of the best medieval action combat or craziness awesome games
Chaos.
ever. Yeah, like you guys got the first game I played when I got my new gaming PC, like back in November, was War of the Roses. First game on my computer.
Oh,
like
thank you.
I am actually a big fan of War of the Roses. I suck. I'm a horrible player. Like I get my butt kicked every time I play, but I love it. This game just appeals to me for some reason, even though I'm usually more of like a sci-fi dude who likes to run around killing aliens. So, but you guys have some new content that you're bringing here for GDC 13. And why don't we start there? What's new with War of the Roses?
Well, just last week we released our gold edition that we titled War of the Roses Kingmaker, which kind of ties into the historical aspects of where our game is actually set in, which is the 15th century, which was a civil war in England that was deemed the Wars of the Roses by the Victorians in the 18th century. So we have a little bit of a history lesson. So the Kingmaker is a name that was given later on in time to Richard Neville, who was the Earl of Warwick. He was funding everything. He was like the Dick Cheney or the Donald Rumsfeld of his time, where so he didn't want to be president, but he wanted to have all the power over the president.
He wanted the president to be their pawn,
his bitch,
and get yes. Okay, all right, yes. People who know the last couple of decades of American politics are familiar with this concept.
So we wanted to kind of do that, and then bring attention to a lot of new content we had released to the game, and we'd done this in a way where we wanted to reward our long-term players, the guys that played a lot and had bankrolled a lot of in-game coins that they earned.
You're like day one endorsers.
Yeah, like they're like boom, they're there all the time. And of course, we could easily have sold them a $5 DLC pack like other companies do, but we wanted to instead turn that around and reward those guys and have them, give them access to that new content first, put it at a premium price, and then we allow players to buy additional coins in the game. So those who wanted it faster could get, they wanted it right away, they could pay, or they could earn their way to getting it. To me, that felt really fair. We can see how much coins people have, and we know that some guys have I don't know how they get that many coins, but they have a lot of coins.
They just don't do much else other than play War of the Roses.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah. So. Well, you're doing something right if they've got more coins than you can even comprehend. Right?
Yeah. So it's these guys really enjoy the game, and we want to be able to reward them. And if you do it in a traditional sense, where you're selling it, or you have an in-game store with microtransactions where you're selling it for real-world money, it doesn't give you the flexibility to easily reward these guys, because there's a lot of them out there, and we don't have the manpower to go in there and indivially reward each one with
a rose.
Yeah, exactly. So this is it just gave us that flexibility, and I know that some there is some evilness behind some reasons for why some people do things like this, or infuse it with some style of a system that's more similar to a free-to-play scenario, but that wasn't our intent. And I can understand how their initial reaction would be that, but a lot of our player base seems to understand what our real motivation was, and that was rewarding our players. But we also need, as a business, to get some money back on our investment.
How do you keep developing games without money to pay developers?
Besides begging, it's you know.
Have you guys,
we get
did
to
you
my
try begging before you?
I
Did
beg my CEO for money to get more resources. So that's part of my job is begging on a daily basis to him. And just let everybody know, I saw some comments. I'm actually not playing. It's a really good friend of mine who's really good, but he'll.
You put a lot of trust. He's just making you look, or is he just making you look bad?
And somebody just bought 1 million coins in shameful support. You know what? I thank you. And that money goes right back into the game. You know, Paradox isn't a rich company. You know, our CEO walks to work every day. He's not driving around in a Lexus or a Beamer or a Maybach or whatever fancy cars exist now. You know, I live in Sweden. I don't know anything about anything like wealthy or rich anymore. No.
you know, we had your CEO on the other day, and he put the smackdown on some trolls, and I was like, "Yeah, this guy's cool. He's all right." So yeah,
it's not Robin, by the way,
Robin.
Erwin. But you know, I'll bring her up. She's an awesome member. She busts my chops a lot when I mess up, and she'll probably get mad at me because I said the B word a little bit ago. But she keeps me in check and keeps my moralities a little grounded. I'm a bit of a potty mouth.
Yeah. You gotta watch it here
my
on the
dad and
screen.
my grandfather are contractors. You can't help it.
Oh yeah.
So it's
up with the blue collar where you're like, hey,
Exactly.
whatever, forget about it.
Exactly. And we're from New York originally, so it's even worse.
All right.
But she's on here, which is like she's in the UK, so I don't know what time it is, but thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Kingmaker content. Like, what's the new? The stream wants you to switch servers.
Yeah, you guys want us to switch servers to one that's empty, so we're gonna do that.
We're gonna do it just for you guys. So it's happening now. There's a bit of a delay. I would just start looking for it now because there's a bit of a delay.
Oh, it's only 11 p.m. in the UK, so now
whatever.
Now I'm not as no more credit.
Yeah, nothing there. But while we're getting into the new server, what are the new features in the Kingmaker edition? Like, what do we get?
Yeah, so what we brought to the table was we had always wanted to do this and always had a plan for it, was to bring a more event-driven siege-style game mode. But you know, we built this great game from the ground up, and you just have to make choices. And you know, we made the decision whether it was right or wrong. You could argue, you can debate that, but was to bring in this game mode later on. And then we thought it was a perfect way to celebrate and giving it the gold edition and the new name. And we had released 4 other content packs since then that brought a lot of new weapons and a lot of new armor to the game. So it was just this great way to celebrate.
You get
celebrate all this new content,
everything.
Yeah. And we upgraded everybody who already owned the game to the Kingmaker. So they you know, we didn't we're gonna join Multiplayer Assault US number 4.
Number 04. All right. Look for that.
So we did that, and so it was mostly about the game mode. We added Steam Big Picture support, which gave controller support, which is a really, very natural way to play the game.
Absolutely.
I think third-person games tend to, I don't know what the psychological connection is, but people feel it's easier to get into a game and play it on a controller when it's primarily a third-person perspective.
I think it's the head tilting.
The
honestly.
puppeteering.
Yeah, like it makes it like the way that you turn is much more like here's your up, down, left to right, and here's
the puppet
your,
master.
Yeah, you can move your head around.
Yeah,
and I like feeling empowered, like I'm controlling somebody more like that. I want to be that puppet master, and go forth and have them smite my enemies.
Yeah, so it's really fun. I thought I need to practice more on it because I'm so used to keyboard and mouse. It will take a little bit, but it is fairly intuitive. But there is to switch over, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. If your rig is set up for playing keyboard and mouse and that's the way you enjoy, you can fully enjoy the game. It doesn't impact it in any way.
No.
If you want to play with the controller, then you can play with the controller. And if that's how your setup is, if you're setting up and gearing towards having the more home theater gaming PC where you have a really strong machine hooked up to your big screen TV and your stereo system, and a lot of PC games now have really good controller support because a lot of games are made for console, which is a huge market still, even though PC is really grown. I think it was 20 billion was the what it was worth, or the sales statistics, or something.
You
So
got
it's crazy.
You really got to give it up to Steam for helping to revitalize the market, not only for like major developers but for independent publishers and stuff. Like it's brought new life to
They made it more
community.
convenient to buy games, and that's why I think people pirated a lot before. It wasn't because they wanted something for free. It was more the convenience factor.
Yeah.
And it was easier, and that's why MP3s became so popular, downloading and ripping, and nobody was selling MP3s. But it was way more efficient and better to have than a bunch of discs laying around. And the reason we went to disc was because tapes were less convenient, and they would get jacked up in spindles.
Exactly.
And then we went from vinyls to tapes because they're more portable. So
And you just like stick a pencil in it and rewind it, and you're good.
remember those days?
Oh, do I ever? Precious
I still say
memories.
rewind. And the younger generation is like, go back, skip a track,
dash twice. Yeah. And folks, if you're in the chat rooms and you have questions that you'd like asked about War of the Roses, you can go ahead and ask them, and I might relay them if I feel so inclined. If you're not a jerk, it's not a trolley question. I usually ask it. I'm a nice guy.
I want to say hi to Fresh Fallen as well. He's an awesome community member. He's posted avidly in our forums. He's a really fun guy, and he usually loses to me. So I really like the other players that I can beat more, because there's some that just devastate me, and I don't like that.
You don't like getting beat at your own game. Let's see. All right, Metatachi wants to know. He really likes your game. How do you keep all the weapons and equipment in the game balanced, and how do you make lag not an issue, especially for a hack and slash game?
Wow, I don't know if we've actually, I would say 100% succeeded at that. It's a constant battle. I mean, it's just a giant web of things, and you pluck one thing and you create a vibration through everything else. Which I don't know if that was a good analogy or not. Man, I just tried to make it
It's
up
a
on
ripple.
the
You
fly.
drop a pebble in the
I was
water,
trying to
it
be more
ripples.
like evolved.
It's like you're walking through the sand, and then there's one
I didn't want to
set
be
of
cliche,
footprints,
and then I
but
almost think I
that-
made it convoluted.
No. It's
So what we do is one thing that kind of a way of philosophy that we look at the balance and things like that is it's not about, I think the word balance is kind of a weird word to use, like saying you're humble when you're winning. It's like those kind of contradict each other. It's like so it's like for me it's like, okay, what's the combat experience? Does this fit within the combat experience? Does it feel good? Because it could be really powerful, but it could still fit within the ecosystem of all the other weapons and still provide an experience that meshes well with those. So we try to look at things like, does this break the immersion? If a guy has a weapon that doesn't seem like it should be, killing you in the amount of times that you get hit with it, and or how does that feel, or when you get hit with it, does it make sense, and does that feel right? The speed that the guy is going at, the time it took him to prepare a hit like that, and making sure that we don't break that immersion. And that's how we try to look at it, because if you try to make everything balanced, I mean, then you make weapons that are all identical. Really, that's the only way to balance things. And then it has nothing to do with skill factor.
Let's just be real here. War is never balanced.
No.
There are clearly defined winners and losers, and it's usually
we wouldn't have evolved our technology of weaponry if one person didn't want to be have an OP'd weapon.
still, I mean,
tactical nukes.
Yeah, but pluckiness counts.
For a reason.
you gotta have a spring in your step if you wanna win in war. Oh, getting brutalized out there, Dave. But I believe in you. I think you can come from behind. Let's see. Any plans on dealing with fire arrow spam?
We're gonna look into that. I mean, we always want to look into those things, and our designer has a lot of work on his plate. So it's sometimes I know we don't get through things as fast as people want to, or they've shown us some things that are clearly exploits, and we have to get to them. But we have a huge pile of tasks on our list, and we're just trying to get through them all as quickly as possible. So just because something was brought to our attention before an update comes out, that update might already be in QA and being tested, and we can't risk making any changes once we've gotten to that point, because there's a rule of thumb: every time you fix one issue, 10 more appear.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very, very cautious about that, and you don't want to do something that's going to really impact the game and risk after you've already put it through QA. So if it's working and it's gone through and it's passed, we have to get that out, and we'll try and get to that after that point. So that's the big thing that we try and do, so that's why, if people are wondering, oh my God, they didn't fix this in this latest update, and what a bunch of idiots!
You're
don't even pay
You're
attention.
not freaking robots,
Yeah,
goddammit. You're
listening to
humans.
us,
You need
and-
to sleep.
Yeah, we are listening. We are, trying to, we are trying to address them as quick as possible, and it's just as frustrating for us as it is for them that we can't get to them as quickly as we want to as well.
Nice. Now, here, Blue Dog mentions his wife is a huge history buff, and you get a big thumbs up for your armor and weaponry. Historical accuracy is kind of a big thing for this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's some things that we really liked and we put in, and we just put them in, but they all are pretty grounded in possibility, except for maybe our bear helmet, which we've been told isn't as believable, but
Shut up! It's a bear helmet. That's all. I'll answer that one for you. I don't speak for you guys. I'm not a representative, but
well, it's still in the game. So.
Bear helmets are awesome, and if you're complaining about a bear helmet, just shut up. Don't complain. Don't complain about awesome helmets.
This is just weird. Does everybody vote for me because it's your profile?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody is like picking on our buddy that's driving right now because he has a developer's profile. And
well, but they're also, I'm far better than David, who's driving my account. So usually they're expecting a bit more of a challenge.
More of a challenge.
Yeah.
Like you actually would put up
So
a
they're
fight.
probably confused right now.
No, they're like, why is this
"Geez,
guy so weak? And
what is it?
pathetic?"
Jet lag? Come on, Gordon.
Yeah, no, this guy lives in San Francisco. I know this for a fact, so he has no excuse. What would gaming be without a little bit of nice, clean, friendly smack talking? Oh man, so people can pick up the Kingmaker edition right now, right? And
Yes,
that's available.
It's the same game, same price, $19.99, and then of course there's the conversions depending on your currency, but it's all right about.
How much is that in
price.
rubles?
I have no idea.
Like if I wanted
Thousands.
to purchase this using the Chinese dong, like how much would that cost me? Can you?
I can't even touch that. So. Is that really the currency?
Yes.
You shouldn't be touching dong at all.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, unless you're in China, in which case it's the currency.
Oh, by the way, we had actually a special. We have a spear in there. It's like a partisan spear. There's a lot of connection to the religion was a strong cultural factor during this time period. So they had a lot of their weapons would have is it
Barbs.
Why am I can't even think? My brain's.
A lot of their weapons would have sharp points.
No,
and
yes.
would hurt people.
Yeah, but they would have scripture. That's what.
Oh, okay.
So they have scripture written onto their blades, onto the shaft of the weapon. It was a lot of things were painted. They had a lot of gilding that they were doing.
316.
Just overly just flamboyant weapons. I mean, we've had to tone that down. So if people want us to be really historically accurate, it was some crazy stuff they did, and they also had a much more lenient approach on talking about sexuality and jokes about sexuality and stuff. I mean, there was a group in Holland, and these guys, their brooch and symbol was basically a penis, some balls, wings, and feet, and they were called the Flying Cocks. Wow. And it was like,
yeah. So that's not going to be in the game, is it? No.
It's like, so if people want us to be fairly accurate, we'd probably get
an NC-17 rating, or what's the adults only? The adults only.
Yeah.
The one of death. All right. Well, I got one question, dude. When are you guys gonna do the Game of Thrones game? You guys totally need to take this and have some midgets and some dire wolves and maybe some dragons. Like
that takes licensing, and
get on it. Come on.
And usually what ends up happening is when you do a licensed game, you have zero money to make the product. Yeah. So that's what other companies suffered from. That's why you see games and people are usually frustrated with the level of quality that gets out of them, because to get those licensing rights, you pay such an exorbitant amount. You also have a much more frustrating development process because they want to sign off on everything. And then you have some guy who's sitting up in his office, and he has the corner office. He's got the back scratcher made of ivory, and with crocodile teeth, and it's like,
all right.
And he wants to sign off, but he doesn't know how to make a game. So his feedback is almost technically irrelevant. But now we have to wrap it up, huh?
We do have to wrap it up, unfortunately. We could talk a lot longer. Gordon, thank you so much for coming and showing us War of the Roses Kingmaker out now. Folks can pick it up on Steam, or where else can they go? War of the Roses the game .com. And it's only $19.99, right?
Yes.
And that will get you like all the contents, right?
All the content.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us today, Gordon. We really appreciate it. We will be right back. GDC 2013 continues with more epicness here on Evolve's live stream. So stay tuned, and we will have more awesome.